Happy day 749 of What She Up To Now. She, being Sharon Horne-Ellstrom, also known as Pajama Grandma, thinking about the expression blood is thicker than water today, and got a lot of thoughts on that because I grew up in family businesses and worked in corporate America, so I've seen a lot of different sides of this whole topic of what people call nepotism, the hiring of related people. This is actually a much older expression than I thought. It's from the 12th century in Germany, where it was expected that blood relatives and relatives were treated better and with more kindness and taken care of over strangers and over people that weren't related to you, over friends. And the belief that we should and can expect more kindness from family than we can from strangers, and that more kindness should be shown to family than to strangers. Now, this hasn't been my own, it has been in some ways, but not in others in my own personal experience. Actually, in my family, the expectation has always been, if you're family, you're expected to work in the family business, and you're expected to work as if you own the business. You're expected to bust your rear and do anything you can and work as hard as you possibly can when you're performing a role in the family business. And I developed an extremely high work ethic and hard work ethic because of that, which I totally thank my parents for. And I don't think my kids probably loved it all the time that they were growing up, but I did the same thing to them. My daughter was at the fireworks stand with me when she was 3 months old. My son was selling fireworks when he was, he was 3.5, 4 years old too. So he was a cute little fireworks stalker and salesman back then, because I came from a really entrepreneurial family, and not only did I work in corporate America, but I helped with the family businesses on the side. We did fireworks, we did rodeos, we did all kinds of different things that my dad, who was an entrepreneur and an executive as well, got the family into, which taught us a lot. It taught me about all the different possibilities and all the different ways that you can earn a living, make money, and provide value to the world. Also taught me to be a super duper hard worker, so that I wouldn't feel like I had just got my position or my job because I was related to my dad or my mom or whoever was running the business. So the whole nepotism thing. And then when I went to corporate America out of college, I worked for really, really big companies. And big companies, all of them had policies and procedures against hiring family. Now, it was interesting because I worked at P&G and at Procter & Gamble, which is one of the biggest companies in the world. There were 5 brothers that all worked there, that all worked in different capacities in the company, but all in the same division. And I'm sure I don't think they were hired before the nepotism thing, but they all were great workers. They were great people, great workers, and they definitely were capable of filling the job. Now, the thing is, they never would have even known that there was a job available had a brother not worked there, right? So the oldest brother got a job there, and then all of the rest followed in line. And the company's position and thought was, okay, well, if Brian's a great worker, then John's a great worker. If John's a great worker, then Matt's a great worker. If Matt's a great worker, then Mark will be a great worker. If Mark's a great worker, and I can't remember the youngest one's name. Anyway, there were 5 of them there. So even in big companies where they have policies and procedures against nepotism and hiring relatives, and the rules were such that one couldn't report to one of his brothers. He couldn't work for one of his brothers as his boss and things like that. And a lot of companies, the bigger they get, the more they have guidelines and rules against that. But in reality, how does it work? It plays out differently in every situation. Just like every relationship is different, every family is different, right? Because now you're not talking about one person's thoughts and feelings. You're talking about a multiple of that. And not all parents take care of their children, right? Not all parents are great parents. Not all people take care of their relatives. Even in my own family, there is there's always different dynamics, right? There's the dynamic where one faction thinks they're better than other of the rest of the family. One group got different values, more judgmental, more greedy, more self-serving and selfish than other people in the family. There's such a plethora of different behaviors within any organization, any team, any group. But with a family, I think that's just multiplied. And blood, we expect that everyone will be kinder in a family, but they're not. Sometimes they're harder on one another than they are on strangers. I used to joke that one of my sisters was nicer to her friends than she was to all of us, her other sisters. And, you know, it was when she was young, but now that's changed. But her friends came first. If she would have to do something or had a decision to make, whether it was with the family or friends, she always picked her friends. And I think that's a kid thing, but that's just the way it was. So an expression like blood is thicker than water, well, it can be, but just like anything else, it can be. It isn't necessarily true. It's totally situational, right? It depends on the situation, depends on the people, depends on the personalities. But it is a really interesting big topic. The whole family-owned businesses it's a different can of worms, and I really appreciate that I've worked in all different situations. I appreciate that I've worked in giant, you know, multinational corporations, in family businesses, in smaller, tightly held corporations and organizations, and then also had my own businesses. I think it's given me a really interesting perspective on a lot of these topics that other people might not ever even think of, but they might find themselves in a situation where they're really resentful because, you know, Bob hires his nephew to fill the marketing job that they thought they were going to move into as a promotion. And that causes all kinds of problems and all kinds of dynamics in organizations because people feel like they got overlooked or missed out on an opportunity. And, you know, it might be that the nephew is much more qualified for the job, and just because you're hiring from the outside isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like I said, every situation is different. And some families actually treat their relatives worse than they would ever treat anyone else. It's kind of like some of us actually treat ourselves worse and are harder on ourselves than we would ever be on another human being on the planet, right? That whole negative self-talk thing. And I would say that a lot more people have the negative self-talk thing than don't, even if they battled against it for decades, me included. It's amazing that so often our biggest challenges aren't from outside of us, they're from within us, and just believing that we can do what it is that we want to do and that we deserve to have and do and be whatever it is that we want. So blood is thicker than water is my topic for today. And I kind of picked it because, you know, I randomly go through this book and I just pick a saying that I haven't talked about yet. And I picked blood is thicker than water because my dad's youngest sister passed away this last week, and we're going to her visitation today. Her funeral's tomorrow, which I can't make it to. Well, I could, but I'm choosing not to. I'd rather go today when I don't have other obligations and other commitments that I'd have to move around. And I appreciate that it's a 2-day thing. I feel sorry for the family because I know when my dad passed away, I couldn't have done 2 days with people. There is no way. One fell swoop for the visitation and the wake was all that I wanted to be a part of. So more power to them that they can do that for their mom, but I don't think I could. So I'm gonna go see my cousins today, and I know it's bad, but I hate it when people pass on and transition and die. I mean, actually I don't personally, but that's my own perspective of death. But I'm sad for the family, but I do appreciate the opportunity to see the kids that I grew up with that are adults now and have, you know, gone so many different ways in our lives. I appreciate the opportunity to just, for a little bit of time, pop in and see how my friends and family are doing, how relatives are doing that we don't otherwise see, because as we grow up and get older, even though we all spent lots of time together as kids, we've all gone our different ways and created our lives and our families and our businesses and our jobs and careers and whatever it is that we're doing. And it's fun to catch up and find out what everybody's been doing. So there's always an upside to every situation, right? Even when someone dies, there is an advantage and there's a positive thing that we can find and take from that experience, that situation. So I might be weird, but I used to hate going to funerals, and I would never go to funerals. I would find any excuse possible to not go to them. And now as I've gotten older, I appreciate the opportunity to reconnect and touch base with people that I've usually lost touch with. We always say we're going to have a cousins get together and a cousins gathering. Every funeral, every wedding, we say that, and then we go back to our lives. We all get super busy, and it never happens. It just doesn't happen. And so, you know, it's sad, but funerals and graduations and weddings are like, they become the only opportunity to really reconnect a lot of times with people because everyone on this planet is so freaking busy. So that's the reason I picked blood is thicker than water. Today was day 40 of the fun challenge. So 40 days in a row, we've hopped online and done one fun thing every day. We pick one action, one fun activity every day that we just go out and do. We just go do it. It's an easy thing. It's an easy, fun challenge. You don't do a challenge about fun and then not make it fun. So today was if you could live anywhere in the world, where would you want to live? And it's funny because I actually asked that question about 9 years ago. I was going through massive changes and transitions, and I thought, I wonder where people I know would recommend living. Because when we want to make a big choice and decision, we can explore all the options in the world, or we can ask people that we know, like, and trust what they think, what their experience has been. Maybe, I have a lot of friends that have lived all over the world, all different places in the world. And so instead of having to research and study and find out what the internet thinks are the best places to live in the world, what do the people whose opinion I value think about the best places to live in the world? And the vast majority of people responded, where you live now, why would you move? Why would you live anywhere else? And it taught me a lot about my friends and about my own thinking. And why we end up staying where we stay for so long. I wish that a few years back, before my vision got really bad, I had actually gotten that motorhome I wanted to get and traveled around for a year. I wanted to do that, and things happened and made that impractical, and so I didn't do it. But I sure wish that I would have, because I think I would have personally experienced different places and locations, and it would have made me better able to answer that particular question. I know the places I don't want to live and that I don't like, but I've got at least 2 handfuls, at least 10 places that I would love to live. And ideally, if we're fantasizing here, I would actually like to have like 7 small locations around the world where I could travel and go to based on how awesome their weather was. And I would go from place to place to place to place, and then I would probably let other people experience those places when I wasn't there. Who needs 7 places to live? No one. But that's always been my fantasy, is, why don't I have 7 places around the world that I can just go to and live in? And what would those 7 places be? And the 7 places have changed slightly over the years, but not as much as you would think. It's kind of like when you do a personality test or an assessment, a DISC assessment. Tony Robbins has supports the DISC assessment form. It's like Myers-Briggs or whatever name it's called. There's a whole bunch of them now. Whenever you take one of those, you'll find that your core values and your foundational personality and your foundational way of behaving and being stays the same, even though you grow and develop and change, and you get better at certain things if you choose to get better at certain things. It's like that. Those things your core tends to be your core. Who you are on the inside is who you are. And it's basically, as you change and grow and develop, how much of the real you let out into the rest of the world, right? How much of the world how much of me am I going to let the world see? I guess that's it. How much of me am I going to really let the world see? That's it in a nutshell. So thinking about that today, challenges, of course, challenges are my jam. And I was trying to explain, okay, this is why family things are hard. I was trying to explain to one of my sisters yesterday about challenges and what my next challenge is going to be. And it's really funny because she reminded me that about, probably 8 years ago or so, I did a year-long salad challenge, and pretty much all I ate for a year was salads and smoothies. And I had actually forgotten about that. I totally forgot about that and kind of blanked it out. But that's because I've done so many challenges, I kind of forget about all the ones that I've done. And so she was saying, you mean like that salad challenge you did? I said, whatever. Some people, they're not our people when it comes to she's totally my people and my person when it comes to love and support and family and bouncing ideas off of that have nothing to do with business and work. But when it comes to business and work and professional development and things, she's definitely not the person I go to. So I was trying to explain to her about challenges and what I'm doing. She's like, what's your next challenge going to be? And she was listing off a bunch of funny things because she's super duper funny. And I wasn't appreciating humor, but I was laughing because she is super funny. But I can't remember what she was saying, but she doesn't get it. She doesn't understand the direction I'm taking with that, right? And that's because she's in a totally different perspective. She comes from a totally different background. She's got a totally different life than I do and than I'm creating. She always has had. It's really interesting. All 4 of us girls, although we all came from the same parents, had the same experiences, similar experiences growing up, and expectations, we have gone in very different directions with our life. It's really interesting to me to step back and look at that and think about that. But it's fun. Anyway, so challenges. I'm finishing up on 4 challenges that I'm auditing. Not one will go all month, or for a month. It's the One Funnel Away challenge from ClickFunnels, and I'm doing that again. And that one actually was the pre-work week this last week, and I didn't do it because I was doing 3 others. And I wasn't doing them all in. I was, would I say auditing them, meaning I was watching the process, stepping back and watching the process. And I've done 2 of them before, and where I actually participated in the challenge and experienced the challenge as a participant. And now I'm stepping back and watching as an orchestrator, as the CEO of this process. And I've been doing that for a long time. I've been doing challenges for a long time and leading other people through them, but I have never decided that, okay, this is what I'm going to teach people to do, because it is a super cool way to launch their online business, to share their expertise, and to attract the people to them that they want to attract to them. And I did one beginning of the month. I did my own practice run of it, and now in March I'm going to do the real run of it and say, okay, this is my thing, this is my line in the sand, this is how I'm going to teach people to do this. And so as I'm doing that, I'm collecting and studying what other people have done, what kind of success they're having, and I want to start doing podcast interviews about people that lead challenges and how they lead them and how that's impacted their business. So I'm ferreting that out, and I will have a car ride today, so that's kind of awesome, except it'll be dark, so I'm not sure I'll pull that off. So I can usually in the dark think and plan and do some things. Although the sister I'm going with is a talker, so I might not get to do anything or anywhere, which I appreciate, because I am not a talker. So, okay, I'm not illustrating that and demonstrating that in my videos and podcasts. I apologize. I guess I am a talker, but she's definitely a talker, and so she's got things to say, and I like to listen to her because she's amazing. That's it. That's all I've got today. Go out, have an absolutely amazing day. Think about how blood is thicker than water impacts you in your life. Does it? Think about a fun thing you can do today. And if you could live anywhere in the world, share that in the comments below, because I would love to know. I am in a big transition period. I'm finally finalizing separating all the assets with my ex-husband, and getting, divorce has been, since 2015. So it's 5 years ago now. It's time to get all of this stuff done. House is under contract, knock wood, everything goes awesomely, and I can be done in this transition phase. I was joking the other day that I feel like I am in a position right now that I was in, because in some ways, not in all ways, but in a couple of ways, I'm in a similar position that I was in like 25, 30 years ago. And it isn't like ideal. And I'm talking about my living situation right now. And I'm so ready to transition to the next thing. So go out, make it a fantastic day. I will, of course, be with you tomorrow to just kind of touch base with what am I working on, what's working, what's not, as I transition from the brick and mortar world to the online world. And if I can help you in any way, hit me up, ask the questions. Always ask. When in doubt, ask. The only thing that can happen if you ask is somebody won't answer, or they'll say no, right? That's the worst that can happen. No one ever died by asking a question. Okay, maybe somebody did, but nobody I'm aware of. All right, catch you tomorrow. Bye.